And in this, it's such a chaos that if your allegiances are to the invisible King, to King Jesus and to the kingdom of God, and they're there first, you're going to walk eyes wide open into chaos. This is not the kind of chaos that catches you because you've breached covenant, or the kind of chaos that comes around the corner in darkness. This is the kind of chaos you walk into with your head held high. And you do it because it's a testimony. You do it because sometimes you need a little chaos. Because a little chaos shows you if you're going to bow down to the strange God. And a little chaos tells you if you're going to keep praying when they tell you not to pray. I'm not talking about throwing a full-scale rebellion. I'm talking about being true to the principles of your kingdom, who you are and what you are. That's the purpose, I believe, of those chapters. The chaos we need is that which shows our allegiance to the kingdom of God. Think about that statement. The chaos you need in your life is chaos that came your way because you showed your allegiance to the kingdom of God. And you walked into it with your eyes wide open because there was a price to pay for that kind of allegiance. Maybe we need ostracized because we refuse. These are just examples. I just put a couple of examples. Maybe we need ostracized because we refuse the violent response. Because we simply can't find in the Gospels Jesus giving a violent response. And so maybe we refuse a violent response and we get ostracized. And we get separated. And we put ourselves into a chaos we could have avoided had we just went with the violent response. Or maybe we need to be persecuted because we won't bow to the whims of the state, whatever the state looks like. I say the state, I don't just mean America or the government, but the kingdom that you live in, because we don't bow to every whim, because we answer to a higher kingdom. Maybe we need a little bit of that chaos, because in that chaos is right where we're going to find our answer. It's right where we're going to find our Jesus. I know you know Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I know you know the fiery furnace, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. Because there's stuff there. And I think that a journey through it one time, we won't do this with Daniel's lion's den. I know I can stretch things too far. So we'll just confine ourselves to the three Hebrew boys. And let's take a look at Daniel 3, verse 8. At that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. They spoke. Now you're going to find out what the accusation is by just reading the recap right here. That's why I didn't read the whole chapter. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast in the midst of a burning fiery furnace. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, and the psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the golden image. The golden image is the image of King Nebuchadnezzar. Pretty plain, straightforward story. Whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. You got a choice to make. This is really easy. It's not a tough one. You could just bow down on the outside, keep your kingdom on the inside. I mean, who knows the difference? Your kingdom's invisible anyway, right? This is the challenge we all face. Your kingdom's invisible anyway. So you can just bow down because, this is an internal faith. You can't judge me for what I do. No one can judge me but God. Right? We hear that all the time. And most of the time that's a cop-out. When people go, no one can judge me but God. A lot of times it's a cop-out for the guilt sometimes that we feel for the things that we do. And I'm not trying to put guilt and condemnation on people in any way. That condemnation is only relieved in Jesus. It's not relieved because you've intellectually figured things out. You don't relieve condemnation, guilt, shame, because sometimes what we're pushing off as condemnation is the better side of ourselves telling us to take responsibility for our life. And so we'll go, oh, nobody can judge me but God. And it's really the sound of the Spirit in you that's saying to you, get up, do this. And I don't want to do it. So in that moment, there's your chance to not bow. Okay? Because we're not going to get a situation, probably not going to get a situation where they put up a golden statue of something and tell everybody to bow. We go, well, we got our moment. We got our Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego moment. The point of the story is not so that we're all on guard for the day they put a golden statue up so that we don't bow. The point of the story is way deeper than that. That's why it tells it twice. That's why it gives you a fiery furnace one and a lion's den one. That's why it gives you one in which the boys don't bow and they pay the price, and it gives you one where the guy won't stop doing his thing, Daniel, praying, and he pays the price. Because it's an omission and a commission book. Some of the stuff is stuff you omit, and there's a hell to pay for it. And some of the stuff's the stuff you commit, and there's a lion's den to pay for it. But either way, you have a decision to make. You can't just internalize this. You can't just say, well, it's nobody's business, I can do whatever I want. Because there's a hell to pay on the other side of just doing whatever. And so, don't fall down and worship, you get cast in the middle of a burning fiery furnace. Verse 12. There are certain Jews whom you've set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They don't serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. Time out. You ever wonder where Daniel is in this story? You're wondering it right now. Where's Daniel? Is Daniel bowing down? We don't know. There is no reference to Daniel here. Is Daniel bowing? I don't feel like Daniel's bowing. But if we get lost in that, we're missing the point of the story again. The point of the story is not to compare Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach. The point of the story is to show you two different things that happen to you in this world in which you omit or commit in the face of a natural kingdom. And so the story here focuses around the boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They didn't pay regard to you. They don't serve your gods. They don't worship the golden image which you have set up. Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, so they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? The fact that these guys exist only in poetic names and we don't hear them say a lot, they talk, and when they do, they're in concert, doesn't say like Shadrach spoke, then Meshach spoke, then Abednego, is the literary way of showing you that it's not important that they're individuals. It's important that you realize they stand for something bigger, okay? They stand for something bigger than just three Hebrew boys. If you're ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, the psaltery, and symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I've made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. What the kingdom of the earth calls good is not always good. There's good with an exclamation point. It's the opposite of good. Okay, so you got to be careful about that. You got to watch for that. If you don't worship, you're going to be cast immediately into the middle of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Now that challenge is to God, not to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You can't do anything about a fiery furnace, right? You're not going to make it. This is the whole point of the story. You're not going to make it. So the challenge then becomes to God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, their challenge is, will you bow or not? They answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that's the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. Oh, that's pretty big. To go, listen, we can't do anything about that. We're not going to kneel. We're not going to bow. We have allegiance to a greater king. If he chooses, listen to this, guys. If he chooses to deliver us, great. Next verse. But if not, that right there is kingdom talk. It's not, God's going to get me through every situation. No. It's, I may walk right into this fiery furnace and this is it. But I belong to a higher king and a bigger kingdom. And if I walk down into that fiery furnace, I walk in with my eyes wide open because I need a little chaos right now in my life. You know what chaos I need? The kind of chaos that comes when a man won't bow. The kind of chaos that comes into his life because he takes a stand for what he believes in. And there's hell to pay when a man takes a stand for what he believes in. And God will walk me through it. But if he doesn't walk me through it, it's not going to change it's not going to change my decision-making process. If not, let it be known to you, O king, we're not going to serve your gods. Nor will we worship the gold image which you've set up. One way or the other. This is what we're going to walk forward. This is what we're going to do.